This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is it, guys. This is what I've been working on so hard over the past 2 years. So many prototypes, so many trials and errors to get to this wonder, okay? You can probably tell, but I'm very excited. I'm also very proud of what we accomplished on this. Now, I know I'm also a little evil not to show it to you, but that's just because I want you to hear the story first, okay? Let's rewind a bit.
Live 2020 to Europe, to Italy, because health officials in this country are...
The world entered its first lockdown due to the COVID epidemic. Like many others, I found myself stuck at home, and it felt like I couldn't move, I couldn't do things. It really felt like I had lost my motivation. At some point I was looking around and I saw this blue lab coat lying there, and I thought this could be a motivator. This could be the armor, the costume I could wear during this complicated time. This could lift up the spirit of my audience. It's probably a bit much, but that's how I thought about this back then. A few brush strokes later, I found myself ready to tackle new videos. Hey guys, salut, this is Alex. At the end of the confinement, when life got back to normal and that I got back to my studio, I had no use for that coat anymore. So I put it away in a drawer, and I genuinely thought that I would never hear from it again. Well, it turns out I quickly missed that chef's armor and all the associated benefits, the confidence, the legitimacy, of course, but also on a more basic level, the protection offered for my clothing from stains of sauce or like dustings of flour. However, I couldn't see myself wearing a lab coat 24/7 in my studio. I'm still a chef. So I thought maybe I could transform it into something else. I unstitched it completely, separating all the fabric panels from each other. And then I sew it back together to make this kitchen shop apron. I like it very much. It may sound a bit silly, but I never really worn a kitchen apron before. It's not part of my, daily routine when I cook. But I believe that deep down there's another reason more profound. I had the imposter syndrome, okay? I couldn't wear the clothing of a chef, basically. Now, a few years later, I'm perfectly cool with this. I was so happy with my brand new custom-made apron that I started wearing it every time I was cooking. Not only was it unique, but it also was custom-made for me. Oh, you can't beat that. Now, in all fairness, as much as I loved it, my custom-made apron wasn't perfect. It had a few flaws. First of all, the fabric that I used worked well for a coat, but it was too thin for an apron. An apron is crying for something more substantial. The plastic buckles that I used were flimsy, the waist and neck straps were not very comfortable. I didn't like the chest pocket. It was messing a bit with the aesthetics, but also objects kept falling off from it, like splash, in the stock. And obviously, since I'm not an expert in sewing, the finishing of that apron left something to be desired. Now, in all honesty, these problems were not like real problems. I was pretty happy to come on my free time and try to fix them, with a bit of music on my sewing machine. Most of them were fine. However, there were still two major problems that were causing me headaches. Okay, and now a quick word from our sponsor, BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is something interfering with your happiness or that is preventing you from reaching your goals in life? I mean, regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools you need to approach life in a different way. I believe in therapy. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. I think for good reasons. I always feel lighter after a therapy session than I did before. It's extremely useful. With BetterHelp.com, it is easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It is betterhelp.com/Alex. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a good therapist is a bit like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, please consider therapy online with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Alex. Thank you BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. There were still two major problems that were causing me headaches. The first one is the split between the legs. During my ceramics classes, I was learning how to make a ramen bowl, and I noticed that when potters sit down, the apron splits in half and each part covers the knees properly. That's pretty smart. Now, the problem that I was facing during my sewing session is that the way I did it was that I left a bit of a gap, and so the stain and the flour could still pass through in the middle and stain the inside of my pants. There needs to be an overlapping. This little detail is a bit technical. It's very complicated to make it in one piece while having an overlap. And if you made it out of a few pieces, then the stitching is going to be ugly on the apron. I mean, it was a problem for me, but I guess it wouldn't be a problem for a professional stitcher. Professional stitcher. What is that position anyway? Now, the second major problem that I faced, I've always hated the way aprons tie around the waist. You have to tie it and untie it every time you want to put on and off your apron. It's getting in the way when you want to access things in your pocket, and I guess above all, it's messing up with the minimalist look of my dream apron. But I discovered a company which is selling magnetic locks for bicycle helmets. The thing is brilliant. For me, it was love at first sight. I thought I want this on my apron, so I ordered a few types and I tried to glue them or stitch them to my apron. And the problem that I was facing was that that specific buckle needed to be perfectly aligned in order to click properly. If it's just 1 degree off, then it doesn't click anymore. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a bit disappointed. Okay, I was disappointed, but I wasn't discouraged. To fix the overlapping and construction problem, I called some of my sewing friends and asked for guidance. Now, to fix the magnetic buckle problem, I simply called the company. So a big hi to the Feedlock team. I've been using many of your buckles to try and solve this problem. I had to glue this at an angle in order for it to click nicely. But since you guys know your product range, maybe you will just trigger and say, why is Alex using this buckle? He should be using that buckle instead. Thank you guys, see you. Obstacles are just part of the path. Embrace them. Find another route. So, long story short, I managed to make a second apron that was now, in my eyes, perfect. An apron I was so proud of that it sparked something a little crazy in my mind, okay? At some point I thought, what if I make it a real product? I genuinely love that apron, and I feel like it's a shame not to make it available for others. What if I share this little nugget with you guys? What if this was the second product of the cooking brand that I launched a year back, Salut? After the saucepan, the apron. It all made sense in my mind. So, with my little team, we started to put everything in place so that this little dream could become a reality. And it started obviously by buying all the aprons I could find to try and identify what was good or bad about each and every one of them. little flimsy when it comes to the fabric, this one. Also, I don't like the leather neck strap. This one is pretty nice in terms of like thickness and solidity. I'm also not a big fan of all the stitching. Nothing is really straight. The pockets are not the same size. A good fabric, but too complicated. This one was nice and minimal on the front, but on the back, you can see all the construction. This one feels like plastic. This one it was my grandfather's apron, and he was a chef in France 60, 70 years ago. Even though it's not the best in terms of quality, I'm never ever gonna trash this one. Many aprons, and I think I've learned a bit from each and every one of them. At some point, my mind was set. I knew exactly what I wanted. Now, the next step was obviously to try and find a factory that would be able to meet my standards and that would produce my apron in good conditions and that would respect values that are dear to me. There was also the question of the location. Where should I produce these aprons? For the saucepan, it was pretty obvious. My friend Emir was making copper saucepan for chefs in Turkey, a country that is known for its very long tradition of coppersmith. I wanted my apron to be made in the US. I mean, I'm a big fan of the brand Carhartt and other workwear clothing lines. I just love the built-to-last vibe on these items. So after a few months of scouring suppliers' website, we finally found a partner who ticked all the boxes. They are located in Los Angeles, in the US, and they produce everything in-house. We put together a big, long document which included everything I had done from the very beginning. I wanted them to have a very clear picture of what my dream apron was. Many negotiations plus many prototypes later, I received the final product. There we are, guys. Now you know the full story of how this apron came to life. Heavy duty duck canvas, big comfortable straps around the neck and around the waist with my signature buckle. Clack. I love the length. It looks minimal, but everything has been carefully thought of. As you can probably tell, I'm very excited about this. Something I am proud to wear, but also something that has become indispensable. I wouldn't see myself making ramen noodles or making pizza dough without my apron now. I mean, you can tell how used this one is. There's a bit of flour, semolina on this side. Yes, this apron was made for the kitchen, but I use it for all my making activities. 2 years ago, it wasn't even like an idea or a project. No, it was just like, I got this lab coat, it's unused, let me turn it into something more useful, an apron. And then it snowballed, all the way to this. And I guess that's where this story becomes a beautiful circle, because that apron is now available for you guys on my website, salutcompany.com. We've got 3 different colors. We've got black, we've got navy, and we've got brown. And it comes with free shipping worldwide. This is something that's very important to me since you guys are evenly distributed across the globe. And since we have everything in stock, it's going to be very quick to deliver. Now, talking about stocks, there's something I should be mentioning. We have a little under 2,000 units to sell total. With the saucepans, we were sold out in under 12 hours. So if you want one, I wouldn't wait too long. I don't want to rush you, but I wouldn't wait too long. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for beautiful stories and happy ending, and I feel like this is exactly that. It's just a little dream that became a reality. There's a link in the description below to get it. Let's catch up in the next one. Bye bye. Salut.